Hi there, it's Kevin with Gonero Games. Happy Monday to you all. It is a busy Monday here at Gonero Games. I have a pile of boxes to go through. These are just normal orders. There isn't any sort of special release or, like I said, no spike in the market that caused this. These are just your everyday run-of-the-mill orders that I've been getting for people that have signed up for our good little subscription service. So I'm gonna get through all these, hopefully get everything shipped off, and appreciate all of the support that we've had and all the people who've joined up. And I highly encourage people to do these normal orders. Pre-orders are going to be a bloodbath. The market is crazy. I know I'm already seeing numbers for Tarkir Dragonstorm, Tarkir, whatever it's called, the Dragonstorm set that's coming out pretty soon. And I know that distributors are allocating a lot heavier than they used to, which is kind of making me upset because I spend a lot of money with these particular distributors. And like I said, I think they're starting to prioritize a lot of new accounts rather than going with the try, test, and two stores that have been around for a while. So anyway, that's a rant for another day. Maybe we'll unbox some of this stuff and talk about Dragonstorm. So I am actually very, very excited for Dragonstorm because I actually haven't even looked at any of the spoilers, but what I've been hearing in the community is that this is a set that finally feels like magic. And I was so worried the Dragonstorm would be buried under all the hype for Final Fantasy that we would have like a Nuka Pennis situation where people were like, oh, well, there's all this other stuff that's coming out at the same time, so we're just going to skip this set. Or March of Machines, that's even a better one. I think March of Machines is a good example of a set that had the unfortunate placement of being around so many other cooler things that came out, like Lord of the Rings, and then just release after release for Magic products has made this set be forgotten about. And actually, it was one of the better sets, in my opinion. There are really good cards in this March of Machines sets that are flavorable, that have a lot of synergies that I think are going to age well long term. However, as I mentioned, Lord of the Rings came out around the same time and no one cared. And so March of Machines just kind of rotted on the shelves. So Dragonstorm has already had some cards like the Mox that came out that was spoiled, that is spiking cards. And not only that, but there's just been a ton of content creators that I've seen that are really hyping up this set. And I kind of agree with them. It's finally a set that does feel like magic. We've had, a death race. We've had a murder mystery. We've had a, what was the other one? We had a haunted house. We had drag cowboys. We had furries. Actually, I like Bloomburrow, so I won't knock on Bloomburrow. But I mean, all these things that aren't traditionally quote-unquote magic, like the magic lore. And the Tarkir actually really, really feels like magic. I know a lot of people started during Tarkir. Tarkir was one of the heights of Magic the Gathering. When I remember that set came out with Fetchlands, it was one of the most sold sets of all time, and it really broke records for its time period. So that was an era of when cards actually were able to appreciate and value. People were all like, when the Fetchlands got reprinted, man, people lost their minds. But so, Dragonstorm, I'll have prices up somewhere here of Dragonstorm for the pre-orders, but as I said, I hope that people aren't getting the wrong idea about my subscription service I do. The whole tiers are balanced and balanced on normal orders of what I know I can get people. And like I mentioned earlier in this video, pre-orders are going to be a bloodbath. There's going to be so many people competing for the same products that I hope I can find enough value out of regular distribution for people to get their value out of. So anyway, we won't talk about that too much here. Let's actually unbox some of this stuff and I'll kind of give my thoughts on what I'm seeing with Dragonstorm. So as I said, I'm worried that it's just going to be forgotten about Final Fantasy. They actually spoiled Final Fantasy cards before Dragonstorm, and then on the same day that they posted Dragonstorm, they also posted the next set, the spaceship set. And so I'm like, geez, Wizards, get your crap together and release things in bite-sized chunks rather than these massive chunks of spoilers all at the same time. And this company, like the best game ever created by far, Magic the Gathering, is just run by people that like just certain things that are so duh that it's like, get your crap together. Is all I can say for Wizards of the Coast. So I think I know what these are. So these are going to be Flesh and Blood. So Flesh and Blood is being targeted right now. Okay, we won't target. I'm not going to talk too much about Flesh and Blood because at this point I think your community is a cult. So no one wants to actually hear what I'm saying. They just want to attack me like I hate their game, which is not the case. I'm just trying to see what I observe about this. But one thing that's going on in Flesh and Blood, there's some shenanigans going on right now. This isn't organic movement. So what's happening right now is people are targeting one set at a time, and there's massive buyouts. And so we saw it with the Hunted going crazy and causing an initial buyout. We have a couple couple of he shall not be named YouTubers that have really, really pumped Flesh and Blood as like a super investable product right now. And of course, what that has done is it's brought back in the speculative money. So I never like it when speculative money comes into games that aren't tried, tested, and true. You can kind of make the argument that Flesh and Blood is tried, tested, and true. However, speculation money killed Flesh and Blood the last time around. So I don't know why people are so crazy about going in to another kind of speculative market with Flesh and Blood. Do I think the game has legs? Absolutely. Do I have problems with the game? Yes. I'm going to do a whole tier list of where I think each of the, and this isn't going to be ranking the games themselves. This is going to be ranking the companies behind the games, how they market the games, how they distribute the games, how they price the games, all of the above. And there are still some things with Flesh and Blood that I cannot stand, that I think is going to be very, very tough for them to overcome long term. And I don't think this bubble-ish, this speculation that's going on in Flesh and Blood is going to be helpful, especially on the backs of the game really having this hot set that came out. And we would have seen a lot of organic demand start to give the company a good gauge of where their print numbers need to be. And now that's going to be thrown completely out of whack, and no company can resist the urge to print into speculation. So that's my concern, my main thing about Flesh and Blood. And so, I mean, a lot of this too, I'm assuming, is people trying to get ahead of the speculation because, as stated, it was first The Hunted, then Outsiders was completely bought out. And again, you can tell this is speculation because these are all kind of the same time periods where these big chunks come out of distribution. And I believe Dynasty was the next one. And I believe they're targeting, the next one they're targeting either or Dust Till Dawn or Bright Lights is going to be the next one that's bought out. So a lot of these here, I believe, are going to be Mistveil, part of the Mistveil, because part of the Mistveil was taken off of the minimal advertised price. Here, I said it properly. So it came off of like the minimum advertised price that Legendary Stories Studios allows people to list on places like eBay, TCG Player, and advertise that they're selling for. And so it came off of it. And so one of the distributors blew it out because it does show that even Mistveil was not selling well at distribution level. The distributor was just tired of carrying it, that they actually blew it out for a discount. So a lot of this is people that purchased on that discount. Unfortunately, Mistveil is now out of stock. I think we were the main reason that it's out of stock because I did buy big chunks of it. But that's going to be the majority of this. If you did order that, I'll have those going out shortly here. Back to where I've seen a lot of other movement. Of course, Pokemon is absolutely nuts right now. There is now EX decks. So those are things without packs that are being sold out at this distribution level. I noticed like one of the distributors was gone out of everything Pokemon. And when I checked before, they still had things like they're called Battle Academies. They still had things like the EX decks. They still had the World Champions decks. And now everything, literally everything that says Pokemon on it is gone. And I've noticed like with pre-orders, having soft caps with Pokemon, especially like distributors saying, okay, we're going to allow you to order, but we're going to soft cap it here. And because they know they're not going to be able to get stuff like Journey Together. We had things that like typically didn't do well, like but they have it's called the quarter stacking Tims, the quarterly stacking Tims. So once every quarter they come out with these tins that have 2 or 3 packs in them. I can't remember. I think it's 2 packs in them, and they are also being like soft capped and have a premium price to them. And so Pokemon is still absolutely still nuts. One of the things I've noticed locally, which is kind of interesting, is my demographic for Pokemon now seems to be people in their 30s, and I'm seeing a lot of couples coming in and buying Pokemon together. So I don't know where this trend is coming from. People that might be more of the Instagram and the Pinterest, that type. Is Pinterest even still around? Anyway, that sort of like those sort of areas, the Facebook. I don't know if there's some sort of trending with like couples collecting Pokemon together, but locally I've seen a massive, I've never seen that in my life of like, a husband and wife combo coming in and, nerding out about Pokemon. So that's kind of interesting and different about Pokemon. Of course, it's adding a lot more fuel to the fire of money that typically didn't go into Pokemon is now being put into Pokemon, and we'll see where the dust settles with that. So Pokemon is absolutely nuts right now. Going back to Magic, a few other things I have seen with Dragonstorm is there has been a price increase on collector's boosters. I don't think this was an MSRP price or a cost price from Wizards of the Coast. I think that distributors have realized how greedy they can get with this product. And it wasn't just one distributor. It was basically across the board. All distributors have increased the price of the collector boosters for the Dragonstorm. So I used to be able to get collectors from like 195 to 205, depending on a distributor. And now we're looking at like 210 being kind of the baseline for collector boosters of the average cost it's going to cost me after like the fees, just distribution fees, credit card fees like that, to actually get a collector booster. So that is interesting too with Dragonstorm, that it must be just such a robust market for especially collector boosters that distributors have gone incredibly greedy. Now, Wizards of the Coast, I think, has painted themselves in the corner with collectors boosters because play boosters are the exact opposite. We are seeing play boosters struggle. Any set that has come out with play boosters are now doing very, very poorly. I think Wizards of the Coast has just V-lined everyone towards collectors. Collectors by far the best expected value. It's pitiful. Like, play boosters were supposed to be combining set boosters and draft boosters, the best of both worlds, into one product. And it seems to me like they actually took the worst of both worlds from draft boosters and play boosters, kind of low value of draft boosters, and the shenanigans of the set boosters, and combine them into one. You get this monstrosity called play boosters. And they're really just not doing well. It seems like every product is doing better in Magic the Gathering, like bundles, pre-release kits, commander decks, collector's editions, are all doing so much better than play boosters. And play boosters are the thing that Wizards of the Coast is going to be keeping in stock. So it's kind of awkward right now with the market, with a massive bloat of play boosters that are on the market compared to collector boosters completely always selling out from every set. And so I think that's the new norm. I think your only opportunity to get collector's boosters is going to be that initial pre-order. And then what I've seen with like Innistrad and as well as Aether Drift, I've been able to order some more after release, but then distributors get incredibly greedy with them. And so I'm paying like a premium for them in the 230s, 235s. And unfortunately, like with Drift and Innistrad, that's about what the market price is for TCG players. So it's kind of frustrating with that too, because yes, people want collectors, but they don't really want them at that price. And so we're kind of stuck here. Like I said, Wizards has really painted themselves in the corner with this. With basically all roads lead to collector boosters. That's where you should park your money. And it's weird too, because it's really priced people out of Magic, because a lot of people don't want to drop like 30, 40 bucks on collector boosters, and you could still get a good card. I think that's why Pokemon is doing actually so strong, because you have any chance to get an expensive card out of just any pack. Whereas Wizards of the Coast is basically, planted that flag and said, nope, collector boosters are where you're going to find the expensive cards. So you have to pay a premium up front to actually be able to have that chance to get that expensive card. And as I mentioned, that has priced people out of that whole kind of gambling sort of like, or the chasing of those expensive cards, where, the microtransactions have kind of a reason why they exist. Is it makes more sense with Wizards, where they can keep their manufacturing costs super low with collector boosters, because obviously it's a lot cheaper to print a collector booster than it is to print a play booster. There's a lot less cardboard, ink, all of that in the play versus collector, and they're able to charge 3 times the amount. So I get why they do that. However, I think they underestimate exactly how Pokemon being able to buy that one booster pack and have that same chance as anything else to get that premium card. It actually drives up sales. So I don't know how Wizards of the Coast is going to navigate this. Honestly, I kind of like collector boosters too, because they make my life easier, because it's more money into one product. And so I don't have to do as much shipping. You should have seen prior to collector boosters how big my orders would be. I'd fill an entire room, because when only draft boosters were the product of the time, that's what everyone would buy cases of them. And a case of a draft booster would be the same as like 2 collectors, and 2 collectors take up a little tiny bit of space, and a case of drafts would take up, they're heavy at that point. They're like 17 pounds or something. So versus like a pound and a half worth of same amount of money going into it. So anyway, we'll see if Wizards of the Coast can figure that out. But the other thing I'm starting to see with Wizards of the Coast is we are starting to see a lot of bloat again in the Magic the Gathering space. And I think Final Fantasy is just going to completely tip that scale to where the point where distributors are going to be forced to blow some things out, because all of the money is going to be going towards Final Fantasy. So I'm expecting a lot of sales in the summer for Magic the Gathering. There still is things like New Capenna, Baldur's Gate, and some other straggler sets like Dominaria that need to be worked through the distribution level. and there might be some good opportune times to get in on some sales. So I am still a big believer in buying the things that no one else wants to buy at this point, and they creep up. I mean, look at Wildsville Drain. Wildsville Drain is now out of stock at every distributor. There supposedly will be a restock of Wildsville Drain, but it's one of those things that it was just slow, consistent sales of a product that is actually really, really highly sought after, but really wasn't when it first came out. And so, I don't know, we'll have to talk about things that I think are still pretty good buys right now. I'm still liking Dominaria for some reason. I know that the Dominaria seems bad, but any set that has like an $80 plus card in that, I think is just such a selling point in the long term. I mean, that is what's filled Pokemon, is usually it's like, oh, I could get this expensive card out of this, even though the rest of the cards out of the set aren't worth anything. Look at like Shining Fates right now, where people are targeting it because of one card is expensive. I think this Shieldred also has that ability to spike up Dominaria. So anyway, yeah, I think I was supposed to be opening these things, huh? But I kind of got on a tangent. Hope you guys kind of like my rambling, like put all my thoughts together. I guess this is where I dump all of my thoughts for the day. But I'm also liking all the, do you guys see Slumbering Dragon? The card, the one drop after the Mox was spoiled. So it's now up to like 10 bucks on, it's just a one drop dragon that just, it just kind of makes me, make me laugh because yeah, Slumbering Dragon's one drop dragon, but literally any changeling will do the exact same thing. So I wonder if all the one drop changelings will spike up as well, but most of those are common. So anyway, let's open a few of these boxes and talk a little bit of shop again. As I mentioned, like the Patreon's absolutely taking off. I appreciate everyone that signed up. I'm hoping I can find enough value for people to stick around for normal orders. That's why I don't count pre-orders against your monthly allocations, because I can't guarantee anything. The market changes so quickly, and one pre-release I could order 1,000 collectors, and the next pre-release I can order 50. And it's always a wreck. Oh, I didn't want to open this to show you what. So do we do a whole Patreon call out here and say, what are you thinking? What are you thinking ordering MetaZoo? So I actually ordered some MetaZoo for someone. So anyway, these are so cheap though. I believe this entire thing was like $3 for these spell books for Wilderness MetaZoo. So apparently MetaZoo is coming back. Good luck to you, MetaZoo. Another thing I do want to talk about is the absolute bloat of TCGs right now that are on the market. And there's going to be some consolidations on the ones that work. I was asked a question, that's why I'm going to do the tier list too. I was asked a question of what TCGs I think will survive the long term, because we do have some big boys out there. We have Lorcana, so all the ones that are doing well and have insane sales data, comparatively speaking of years in the past. We have One Piece, we have Lorcana, we have Star Wars Unlimited, we have Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Flesh and Blood. Those are like the biggies that have really good sales. We have things like Digimon, we have things like Union Arena, we have Weiss Schwartz that still exists, we still have Universes that still exist and they still sell. We have Sorcery, we have Shadowverse, we have Alestrials, we have, what was the other one that just came out that was kind of like Alestrials? It's more of a cutesy set. I think I even missed a big one there, Yu-Gi-Oh! That's still running around. And I get it, we're in like a TCG craze right now, where TCGs have gone mainstream. Kind of reminds me of the kind of MOBA era in digital space, where there were just a million MOBAs that came out at one point, and even kind of the online Hearthstone era where there's so many knockoffs. Remember like the Dota chess era where there's so many knockoffs of certain games that came out. And I'm thinking that's where we're at, and I'm hoping that TCGs will last, like, can keep this pace up. But I think that we're in kind of a TCG craze right now. And so what I'm saying is I think the people that like TCGs are going to stick around, but I think there's a lot of people that are just fair weather fans that get into whatever's trendy. And right now TCGs are incredibly trendy. And so a lot of money is coming into them that I don't think is going to stay long term. And of course there has to be some consolidations. So Lorcana, Flesh and Blood, and Star Wars Unlimited, I really, really think they need to start tightening up their print runs because it's not going to last. I think the Magic and Pokemon are going to continue to be, throw their weight around, continue to create these FOMO situations that when people have to decide between buying one of these tier 2 things or buying the tier 1 games, they're going to go with the tier 1, except for the extreme fans. So those are the three that I'm more worried about. I don't know if any of them will get chopped. A lot of people are really, really worried about Star Wars Unlimited. The thing that I see with Star Wars Unlimited is the sales data looks really, really good. So it just seems to be like an overprinting problem at the moment. So anyway, again, I'll do a tier list of that and try to get my thoughts together better for it. And I don't know. I was going to open up boxes, but it's too hard to open up boxes and talk. But a lot of things like this, secret layers that are still available at distribution level. Chandra's spellbooks seem insane, by the way. As a really good pickup if you want to put in some elbow grease. I'm actually doing a video over my Rogue Market channel too, talking about starter decks. So the starter collections now from 2021 still has an Arena starter kit that is positive value if you break them down. Assassin's Creed is very positive EV, or not EV, it's just positive value if you break them down. And Bloomburrow is still positive value if you break down the cards and sell them. I believe that you can actually make back your money on both Assassin's Creed and on Bloomburrow by just opening the starter kits and selling them directly to Card Kingdom's buy list, which is hilarious. I don't know why Card Kingdom just doesn't do that. But maybe it's just easy for them to have everyone else do their grunt work for them and sort all the cards and package it to them. And I guess when you're as big as Card Kingdom, that makes a lot more sense if you can make all these other people using your buy list be kind of your sorters and your workforce. But anyway, that's all I have today. This is kind of a long, ranty video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll be back tomorrow. I don't know, probably do that tier list or something else. Appreciate all comments in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Again, I am so overwhelmed by the support. I'm hoping I can deliver, so please have patience with me as we go through some of these kind of learning curve with the scalability of this operation and growing at the rate we're growing. Oh, and I'm going to Moldova in a month. Oh man, I need some people to come run the store while I'm gone. All right, no more energy drinks for me. Let me get these shipped out. Thanks for watching.